So now we have Emma. So Emma is a recent graduate from here. You're from this university? Oh, great. And is currently employed at Boeing. So she's going to talk about some interview tips and tricks and what she does as a systems engineer at Boeing. So, and you can go into a little bit of lunchtime because we'll start lunch a little bit later today. So take it away.
Sure. So I'm working for Boeing Defence Australia. I'm not going to talk too much about the work that I do there. It's just due to the nature of the work it is. It's something we don't really talk about. But what I'm going to talk about is how I got to be at Boeing Defence Australia and my journey through becoming an engineer. And hopefully there'll be some points in there which you can all take away from. So engineering wasn't really my dream kind of, I want to be an engineer. In fact, from a very young age, I was actually focused in the performing arts. So you can see I can play a lot of musical instruments and a lot of aesthetic sports as well. Highlighted piano and trapeze, that's what I'm really, really good at. At school, I suppose, I did some academic subjects, bio, chem, maths, physics. I was really good at physics, but maths I sucked at. In fact, I hit my personal best in grade 10, where I received an E and got myself kicked out of Maths B and put into Maths A. So come time to go to uni, I did what any diligent young girl does and follows the advice of their big sister and enters psychology. That was pretty short-lived. Through this process, I thought, you know, I was actually really good at physics at school. Even though I sucked at maths, that was more of a decision. I was quite naughty. And so I decided, I think I want to become an engineer. So I did a bit of research and I stumbled across mechatronics here at UQ. And I thought, oh, that sounds really great. It sounds hands-on. There's projects. I can build stuff. I can learn stuff. And it's actually quite a bit of physics kind of entailed as well in it, if you want it to be. So I decided I would try that one out. And for the first semester of that, I loved it. It was incredibly interesting. But I also loved, you know, the way I went through high school and come final exams and a GPA of 2. Yeah. So what do you want to do? I didn't want to be in performing arts. I wanted to be in mechatronics. And so you kind of got to focus on what you actually want to be doing and get your act together. So I started to work on this, and maths came very difficultly to me and in turn made all the other subjects pretty crap as well. But I went through nonetheless, and I ended up graduating with an extended major and a Bachelor of Mechatronics and actually quite good grades. You can see here some of the projects that I've done. So bottom right-hand corner, that is my thesis that Matt was just talking about, the diving coach monitor. One really great thing about that thesis for me was that I was able to do a thesis on my performing arts, aesthetic sports, on my hobby. So as every thesis does, it gets difficult, but at least it was something that I enjoyed. On the bottom left-hand corner, that was typically a mechanical engineering subject. That's where I learned how to do some really cool 3D drawing. That was a team project. They put us into teams of about 8 people, and they told us to design a component from a little dirt bike-like thing. So my team was doing the gearbox, the CVT. So, you know, you've got teamwork, work within your team, get it designed. But the catch to this subject was it was actually your team is not just your team, but the rest of the project. You have to design the entire dirt bike. So these amazing 3D drawings that I did, all great, but it's not going to mean anything unless it interfaces with other people from the subject, other people outside of your team. And that's a really important thing to be able to do because that's what happens in the industry. If you think about it, why do you have places like Boeing? It's to build components for a customer. So you have to work with a lot of other things and design something outside just your little scope. You have to be able to work with people. Top right-hand corner, that is one of the team projects for mechatronics. In this one, again, teamwork. We used computer vision to create a robotic arm through DHT parameters, so that means learning to know where the arm is in space and code movement of the arm. So that was through programming. Then we looked at this rotating table, which you can't see clearly up there, but if you look closely, you'll see a little perspex circle with some coins on it. So we're looking at this circle and looking at the coins, and we have to sort these coins. So robotic arm comes down, grabs this $1 coin, which is on a rotating plate, drags it off into the $1 coin thing. Now do the same for every other coin on the table. Sort it, count it. Then put some notes on there and tell me how much money you have in total. And then, if you can achieve that, we're going to chuck other things on there like keys, and we had some lint balls, because a lot of people went, oh, okay, it's a gold coin. I'll just look for colours. You know, lint ball does a white chocolate with a gold wrapper. You're screwed. You can't just rely on one thing. So that was that project, and on the left was my advanced robotics final year project, and what you see up there is a little car. It doesn't look like one, but it's very simple. Everything's hidden underneath. The big target that you see on it was, again, for computer vision. So you can see there's a black line with some green surrounding it. That was part of a racetrack. Some of you may have seen it. It was just about this time last year over near the engineering building. So the aim of that was to make the car drive around the racetrack and avoid obstacles. So you had computer vision to look at your car, figure out where it was, and they had about 4 cameras. Each camera only looked at a section of the racetrack. So you had to be able to navigate, switch between computer views, navigate around this track, avoid obstacles, build a car that could go up over a hill. One team had a really great design, but they couldn't push themselves over the hill. Marks deducted. We had to make a pit stop. We had to respond to red and green lights as you start and stop. A lot of different challenges there. Again, teamwork. So that is one really important thing that you're going to come across no matter what kind of a job you get. You're going to have to be able to work with people. So how do you get a good job, right? There's basically 2 things that are entailed, a resume and a cover letter. Some people don't read resumes, they only look for the cover letters. Other people, the other way around, they don't want to read a cover letter, they want to look at a resume. But what I can tell you is that the vast majority of the time, if you don't get their attention within those first few lines, they're on to the next person. Because unfortunately, they have hundreds of people just like you which want your position. And so how do you make it stand out? There's not much point in putting all the jobs that you can do, all of your skills, in the very top section. And that's because pretty much everyone else applying for this job also qualifies, right? They have that same skill set. So what makes you different? Why should they employ you? You need to be really constructive about how you sell that, and put what makes you different whilst still tying it back to the key skills. So don't just say, yeah, I can program in C and in Java and in Python and in Arduino. Who cares? That's not much different. So there are a few really good example resumes and CVs out there, cover letters. Just have a Google. These are 2 which I used, and it came with an explanation, as you can see, top right corner, cover letter, of why they are saying what they're saying. So stuff like that can be really helpful, because this is the first round of hoops that you jump through in a job application. Right? Now, if they happen to like those first few lines of your cover letter or CV or both, they might give you a phone call. And they're not going to, sometimes they set up with a, like, we're going to call you at this time, please be available. but most of the time it's a surprise. So my advice to you is please get yourself a good mobile phone. I personally have learnt from that. I had a mobile phone that the screen cracked, dropped it, screen capped, so I glad wrapped it, right? That's good enough. Next thing I know, I've got a phone call coming along. It says, oh, hi, it's Bob from blah, blah, blah. I beg your pardon? We went through this about 2 or 3 times because my phone was so bad that I couldn't actually understand. Anyway, I thought he was from Austral Bricks, Australia. I didn't remember applying for Austral Bricks, Australia, but I'll take what I can get and I'll go through this phone interview, right? And it's not until he actually says to me during this phone interview, so why do you want to work for Boeing? Oh, now I definitely applied for Boeing, right? And so something as simple as having a phone that you can hear clearly on is really, really important for you guys. Just think about that, because if you're in a busy spot or on the bus or something, they'll say, you know, they might give you a call back, but they also might not. So that's something really important to have a think about. So you end up getting through a phone interview and everything goes well there, and you're invited to come in and meet them. And you've got an assessment day. What is an assessment day? Have many of you guys done interviews yet or started going through that? A few of you? So have you had the kind of day-long or half-day interview processes? No, it was one yes. Well, I experienced quite a few of them, actually. I went for many, you know, you just apply for anything. Apply for anything. One particular one, which I'll talk about here, was quite interesting. They brought us in the morning, and they gave us a little box. We were sitting at tables. There was about 30 or so people, and, you know, 4 or 5 to a table. And there's a little box, and we think nothing of it. There's a box and a computer. We're just there for some interview that'll take all day. And they're going through this description of what they want us to do, and they say, inside your box you'll find the components to build a rover. This being the rover. We want you to build that, and on the rover is a radio. Now there's, I think there was 5 or 6 different teams, and they had a base station. The radios don't have much range, so we had to make a relay. So all 5 or 6 start at the front line. The first car drives out, loses his signal, sits there. The next car drives out to meet him, and the first car passes the signal on to the next one to extend the range. So everybody that you're competing against, smile and work with them. So, thank God I did a number of team projects at uni, right? They suck whilst you're at uni, but there's a lot of value in them, because this is what I've experienced through a number of different companies interviewing, this kind of thing. And so we went through, you know, it was completely disassembled. We had the PCB. If you look closely at the top one, you can see a little bit of a gearbox at the back. We had to construct the gearbox. That was my task, and at one point I've got like lubricant on my hands, and I've got these little gears, and some guy comes up and he's trying to help me, but the gearbox is about that big, and that's like a one-handed job, right? Not 4 hands. And it's really difficult, because you then have to politely say, hey, I got this. All right? And so there are a lot of challenges like that. So that's the first section of the day. Then, if you don't get sent home, you get into a one-on-one interview, and they tend to ask you behavioural questions, right? Now, there's lots of different ways to answer a behavioural question. They have lots of different acronyms. STAR is just one of the many ones that you can Google. And what they ask you about is personal experiences and how you have overcome them. So they don't want to hear about how you and your team did something great and we all solved this together and Bob was really handy. They want to know about what you have done specifically to excel yourself. These questions are your selling point. This is where you get to brag, basically. So you state the situation that you were in, the task that you had to achieve, the actions you took, and the results, the outcome. There's many different ones, as I've said. Just go online, Google it, how to answer a behavioural question. Find a way that suits you. Google different examples of questions, draw on uni experiences, and if you're really stuck, make something up. But, you know, lack a lot more confidence than men lack. And that this is shown through in interview processes. They don't ask for pay rises. When they go for a new job, they don't negotiate a pay rise. And so we also have to hold ourselves accountable. And you have to be confident, and you have to, you know, stand up for yourself and speak in a certain way. So women have, there have been studies that say women will make a statement as though it is a question. So, oh, this one plugs into that one. Not this plugs into that. It's about how you present yourself. And if you present yourself in the right way, you'll have less challenges. And that's really difficult to do for some people. But you have to learn to harness that confidence eventually. That's all I had prepared. Are there any questions? Lunch. A little bit.
Yeah. So Emma will be around this afternoon if you want to.
Actually, I think there's one other cool thing that...
Oh, okay.
It's a bit of...
Cool thing. So, any questions? No, I think you might have... Are you hanging around for careers as well?
No, I won't be here for careers.
Okay. But if anyone... Oh, yeah, sorry.
There's a Boeing stand. There's just somebody else working on it.
Yeah, cool. But if anyone does have any questions about interview prep, group interviews, I'm sure you'd be happy to answer them over lunch. Yep. Emma's going to hang around over lunch. So definitely ask her some questions. I think that was a great presentation. And definitely all the stuff Emma was saying about interviews and preparation is really, really key. I've done a lot of them myself, so yeah, definitely very valuable information and advice. We'll pop this up.
Sorry, I'm just trying to...
Technical problems. Anyone understand computers here?
All right, so this is some work that I actually did with Emma before she went off to better things at Boeing and so on. And this is a rover, as some of you who might be remember from the 80s, is a turtle and so on. So this what this rover is doing is that it actually has pens attached to it on little levers, and it's trying, here in this case, oh, it's going off, but it's trying to draw a shape, and it's got multiple pens and so on. And this is what we use to teach, or to teach embedded systems here at UQ. Teach, or torture, as some students like to think of it. Torture and so on. But this is sort of the sort of work and experience that students get here at UQ, and it's the sort of experience that Emma went through as well, and so on. So we've got some of the rovers here if you want to have a look at them later.
Big round of applause to Emma for a fantastic talk on interview preparation and prep.